Hi guys, Shauna Robinson, Wellness A to Z, and welcome to another episode of Microdose Your Wellness. In this episode, I interview Chelsey Kap. She's a Rolfer and a yoga instructor. What does Rolfing even mean? What is it? She's going to break it all down, how she got into it. She's also going to lead us through some delicious and juicy seated movement to open up your shoulders and your back. We're all sitting a lot more these days. She's also going to lead us through a very amazing and easy, simple to do breathwork session that balances your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. We all need a little bit of balance right now. We all need a little bit of calm. And with that, Chelsey Kap. Hey, Chelsey. So how are you today? How's it going?
Hi, Shauna. I'm doing pretty good. I'm out here on Long Island, came to visit my partner's mother because it's her birthday tomorrow. So we wanted to keep her some company and also just get out of our little Brooklyn apartment, which we've been in since March.
Oh yeah, I mean I have to say I'm so glad to not be living in New York anymore. I mean and even in my apartment in LA. I mean I'm in my brother's backyard. It's like there's space. It's been so nice, but that's nice that you guys were able to get out of Brooklyn. Do you have a car or did you take the train? I'm just so curious about transportation there.
We don't. I mean, because we live in Williamsburg, which for those of you who know the neighborhoods, Williamsburg is a really busy neighborhood and parking is really difficult. So we used to have like this huge truck that it would be like impossible to park. So we got rid of it, and we will eventually be transitioning to move upstate, and we'll have a car and all that. But for now, we're city people, and so we're vehicleless.
Was the train crowded?
Oh, well, actually, his mother picked us up.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't want to chance public transport. It just seemed like unnecessary.
I don't blame you at all. So I am so curious about Rolfing. So for those of you who don't know, Chelsey is a Rolfer, and I'm so curious to find out more. I didn't really know what it was until like you and I kind of crossed paths, and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. So what is it, and how did you get involved in that?
Yeah. So Rolfing is a type of body work which the way that I like to just kind of orient people to it is that it is kind of like a cross between massage, physical therapy, and chiropractic, but it's distinct from all three of those modalities I just listed. So but just to give you an idea, like I use my hands, and it is very much about alignment. It is very much about helping people get out of their chronic or recurring pain and tension patterns. And I got into it. I guess it was just a synchronous accident. I was studying anthropology at NYU, and I was 2 years into my degree and like realizing that I didn't think I would be very happy in that career. And right at that time, I moved into a new apartment, and my housemate was a Rolfer. And I remember one day she just kind of like grabbed me over from the breakfast table and started to work on my rib cage. And after 10 minutes of what was really intense body work, I felt like I could take the deepest breath I'd ever taken in my life. And so that really got my attention. And so I wanted to learn more about Rolfing. Actually ended up like writing my thesis on it because in anthropology, you can study whatever you want. So I was looking at it from an anthropological perspective. And I also went through what's called the 10 series. So the 10 series is one of the things that really makes Rolfing unique, where we're not just like interested in fixing symptoms, but making the whole body function better and align better in a way that people's issues really do resolve long term.
Sounds like Chinese medicine, which I know that you also dovetail that into your yoga practice. So, I mean, I would love to hear about the similarities between the two and what you found and how kind of blend the
Mhm.
two together.
Specifically with Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my knowledge of Chinese medicine really comes from an advanced yoga teacher training I did with Rose Erin Vaughn here in New York. So that was in the summer of 2018. I did my advanced training with her. And she has combined yoga and the meridians, or yoga and TCM. And so what I've basically done is taken what I've learned from her and continue to learn from her as I study with her and study with other acupuncturists and TCM teachers. Is really combine like all three of them. So it's like the Rolfing perspective meets yoga meets TCM. And actually, the Rolfing and the Chinese medicine blend together so beautifully. They are both holistic, like you just said. And the meridians are really myofascial relationships. meaning like, lines within the body where we want to think about, okay, like my big toe is connected to my inner knee, is connected to the inner part of my pelvis, is connected to the liver. And so in treating the body this way, again, it really has a much more profound and lasting effect than just like, oh, your knee hurts, let's just work on the knee.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Chinese medicine is just the, sort of the circularness of it, or just the well-roundedness that there is an answer to everything. And it's not just like this, just treat this acute symptom or just like, oh, your knee hurts. It's like, let's dig deeper and figure out what's going on. So you work in New York, which is,
Yeah.
and I've lived in New York. I mean, we are bipedal creatures. We walk a lot there in New York. I mean, I don't live there anymore. There's a lot of stress and a lot of tension. So I would love to know, a little bit more about, sort of what types of things that you see and you treat.
Mm.
I guess the most.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yeah, being in New York, it's really been amazing because there are just so many people who need this kind of work. So many people who rush around and are like, I think New York tends to attract people who are very ambitious and driven and like, they're very much New Yorkers. They're very much in their heads and not so much in their bodies. They're in a rush a lot, which takes a huge toll on the body. They work a lot, which take a huge toll on the body, and just the vibration of the city itself can also take a toll. Of course, there are many wonderful things about New York, so I don't want to bash it,
Oh yeah,
but it does take its toll. And so, yeah, what I see, I really see such a huge variety because Rolfing is so holistic, like Chinese medicine is. That I'm not only seeing people with low back pain, although there is a lot of low back pain, of course, due to many issues. We could, of course, the easy one is sitting in the way that people sit. So I'll incorporate like a lot of somatic education, which I've done in my workshops, which you took one of them online, but also in one-on-one with people. Like I'm really not satisfied to just work on them or fix them and have them walk away, because really the only way that they're going to have change last is if they feel empowered and they feel knowledgeable about their own bodies and they know what to do to help themselves. So I know I've diverted away from your original question a little bit, but low back pain is a big one. Posture is a huge one. People feeling really like closed up and they feel self-conscious about it, so they close up more, and they want to just, I think people also sense deep down that like their physical ailments are not just physical, and people can have this sense like, not only will I have my shoulders in a different place, but like who really cares about that? I'll feel better. My inner and outer world will look different in a way that I think is really needed for a lot of people.
I think that's beautiful. And it wasn't until my 30s when I realized that I realized that the inside and the outside were connected. I mean, it was just this like sort of aha moment, which is embarrassing. I mean, it was just like, oh my God. I mean, for me, the aha moment came with food. It was like, oh, what I'm actually putting in my body is affecting my mood. And then, I started going down the path of yoga and it was like, holy shit, this is like so amazing that, and then, we've studied with the same person for, yoga and TCM. And it was just like, oh my God, just the blend of everything together, just to get to know yourself. And you have this very different relationship with
Yeah.
yourself when you are able to kind of, like look at, emotion and physicality as one instead of, these very bifurcated
Mm-hmm.
things, which I think is super cool. So you talked a little bit about like lower back pain and, obviously we're sitting a lot and I'm sitting in a very strange chair. So I realized when you were saying that, I'm like, I'm so hunched over right now and just not my fault.
It's
Terrible.
not your fault. You're not supported.
I'm not supported. I also have giant boobs. So there's that. But anyway,
Yeah,
besides
that's a thing too. The
so
hiding.
well, I used to, I mean, that was definitely something that I used to do as a kid, like just like
Oh,
it
100%.
was like I was so embarrassed. It was like, oh my God. Now, I still don't love that. But anyway, that's another story for another time. Um,
Yeah.
and you and I've talked, a little bit offline about, just like we're working from home and, we do sit and kind of like we're not at, not at desks, even though desks aren't necessarily the most ergonomic thing anyway. But I mean, we're really sitting at like, funky tables and, maybe not breathing, the way that we normally would, just because we're in a very
Mm.
different time. And I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about and do maybe some breathing exercises and show us maybe
Oh,
some
yeah.
stretches. So I don't know if this is a good time to do that or not. I mean, I'm always ready for some breathing
Yeah.
exercises
We
and
can move into it. Um, I want to kind of ask you a question based
Yeah.
on something you just
Yeah,
said.
please.
It's a little bit of a pointed question, but you had mentioned, the big wake up for you was related to diet, and it sounded like you were saying that that big wake up was triggered through yoga. Is that right?
Um, Opposite. So I went to
Oh,
culinary
okay.
school. Yeah, I went to culinary school in 2009. And that, I mean, I was like, the curriculum I took like a duck to water. I went to the Natural Gourmet in New York. It's now shuttered. And I affectionately call it hippie school. I mean, it was like vegan, vegetarian, Chinese medicine, essentially like Michael Pollan's omnivore's dilemma played out over 6 months. And we really learned about nutrient density and the different nutritional properties of food, and not just like protein,
Mm-hmm.
fat, and carbs. It was a lot more like micronutrient and,
Mm-hmm.
making our own food and, just eating whole nutrient dense foods. And it was just this whole different way of looking at nourishment. Before, it was, for me, it was always like, oh, I'm going to eat like a boneless, skinless chicken breast and, a carb and a veggie. Like that to me was balanced. And I'm not dissing that necessarily, but at the same time, and, no offense if people eat chicken, I don't necessarily, just because I like farming practices, but that we also were taught to look at food from that lens. That whole experience sent me down the path of, just being more curious about what I was putting in my body and the type of food I was buying, where I was buying it, where it was coming from. And then I found yoga, and not until 2013. So it wasn't like this immediate thing. And yoga was actually something that was a surprise to me, because I had taken it when I lived in San Francisco, and it was kind of like, meh, it's a little airy fairy for me. And then I stepped into a hot yoga classroom and I was like, all right, I'm sold. I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I can do this. I know
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy, and that's fine. But I mean, that was it. And that was a whole different awakening, from that. And then,
Yeah.
the connection between mind and body. And then, and anyway, I mean, we could talk about that forever, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was food. And it was 6 years before I stepped into 5 years. I can't do math anyway. That's why I talk about food and wellness.
Yeah, well, your page is beautiful, and it really, your approach, it comes across even just skimming through like your posts, your wall. It's like, oh wow, there's like soul in what she's offering. I don't somehow it comes through even just like skimming
Oh,
through a
thank you.
photo. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, because it's really important for people to understand like that level of nourishment too.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I'm glad that that's how it comes across, because I really want to, help people understand that it isn't just food, and that, then there's not this
Hmm.
mental health component. It's like, it's all one. I mean, what stress does to
Yeah.
the body, and what, you know, maybe not eating well does to the body, and not moving, what that does to the body, and, just all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually could bring us to a really nice transitional point. If you're okay doing a bit of seated movement,
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't thinking about that, so I'm just going to kind of reset myself up so that you guys can see more of me as we do this. So for this, ideally you'd be sitting on the floor. If you were doing it in a chair, you would have to kind of get creative, but um, something that I want to invite you to become aware of is where your sits bones are. So I don't want to assume that everyone watching knows that. So you can, I think the best way, if you don't know where your sits bones are, is to place your hands under your seat and kind of like rock side to side. And you should feel like these kind of knobs, these bony knobs that you roll over side to side. So those are your sits bones. And so we want to basically center our weight just in front of the sits bones. So you could think of like shifting your weight toward the top of your thighs, versus if I let myself kind of cave back, you can see how the curve comes out of my lumbar spine. And the sweater is just a little bit too much right now to show you guys that. So you can see that as I shift my weight back toward my tailbone, I take the curve out of my lower spine, and I'm losing the fight to gravity, right? Versus if I can find those bones and then kind of shift and open my hips up, then I can sit up really without very much effort. Most people don't have hips that are very open. Today's a good day for me, so I can, but what I usually recommend is that people sit up on something. So elevating your hips, and actually that does feel easier than sitting flat on the ground. Elevating your hips just a little higher than your knees allows you to shift that weight forward. And you can see I do have a little bit of a curve in my lower spine. that's what allows me to have an upright posture with a lot of ease. So that's something that I teach people. And you can do the exact same thing sitting in a chair. You would prop your hips up a little higher than your knees and shift your weight into your feet and toward the top of your thighs. So now that we've kind of set that foundation, I'll just talk a little bit about why I want to share these 6 spinal movements, because Shawnee, you had mentioned movement and how we don't move, and I'm actually reading what's the author's name who writes *Sapiens*? It's like this really well-known popular book right now. Anyway, the name of the book is called *Sapiens*, and it's essentially a history of human beings. And most of our evolutionary history has been really focused in the hunter-gatherer phase. So much of our physiology and our mental health, or the conditions for healthy physiology and mental health, were set up during the time of being a hunter-gatherer. As hunter-gatherers, we lived outside and we moved constantly. So the need to move constantly, as well as the fact of moving constantly, made our bodies really healthy and really efficient. And because it doesn't matter, like I tell people all the time, even if you are able to like sit perfectly, eventually it's also going to become strenuous, because we're not meant to be still. We're really not. We can only take so much of it, and then we've got to get up and stretch and move, and also like take in a different visual field, because that has an effect on our body. So with that, let's go ahead and just do some movement together, moving with the breath. So as you inhale, sweep your arms overhead and look up. Interlace your fingers, exhale, round your spine and push your palms forward. Look at your navel, inhale, and exhale. Inhale, reach the arms up, spread your fingers, look up, lift your chest. Now as you exhale, place your right hand on the ground and arc your left arm up and over. So we're taking a stretch along the left side. And as you do that, anchor down through your left hip. And just go ahead and breathe into those left ribs. Now, as you exhale, I'm going to disappear from the screen for a moment. You're going to sweep both arms forward and center. Reach your arms ahead on the floor. And if you can, just rest your forehead on the ground for a moment and take one round of breath. Inhale again, reach the arms up, extend your spine, lift up your chest. Interlace your fingers, exhale, round your spine and push the palms out. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhale, reach up, look up. Left hand down, exhale, side bend over to the left. So you're stretching the right side open. Anchor down through your right sits bone and inhale into your right lung. As you exhale again, sweep both arms forward and center, forehead resting on the ground if possible. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhale last time, reach the arms up, look up. Now as you exhale, you're gonna twist and bring your left hand to your right knee and bring your right fingertips behind you like a kickstand. Look over your right shoulder. As you inhale, feel your spine get a little bit longer. And as you exhale, feel the abdomen draw in and twist through the organs. Again, breathing in and breathing out. Inhale, come back to the center, reaching the arms up. And exhale, twist, bring your right hand to your left knee, left fingertips behind you, look over your left shoulder, inhale, get nice and tall. Exhale, twist through the organs, through the diaphragm. Breathing in and breathing out. Inhale, come back to center, reach the arms up one last time. And exhale, float your arms down by your sides. So very simple. And like, don't you just feel a little bit better?
Oh, lots better. It's not just a little. That's like gold.
It took like 3 minutes.
I know. And this, like, just I think so many people, the shoulder, neck. I mean, I have a subluxation of a vertebrae, so like that in and of itself, it's like delicious and juicy.
Yeah.
yummy and everybody should do.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be like,
100%.
yeah, no, that was amazing. There was something that you said about, we're not necessarily meant to sit still for that long, which
Mhm.
is, I agree. I mean, sitting still is rather challenging, yet, we're, trying to help people meditate and like, kind of quiet the mind and sit still. So I mean, I was like, interesting. Like, is it
Yeah.
how long, is there like, all right, you're not supposed to sit still for 20 minutes or get up every hour? Like, is there something that, I mean, I know that it's probably not that black
Yeah.
and white, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for asking for clarification on that. I'm not trying to tell anyone not to meditate. Meditation is a great idea. I
Yes.
do it daily, and I do seated breath work daily where you're physically quite still. What I mean is having a sedentary day,
Oh, yeah.
having a sedentary lifestyle. Yes, do your 20-minute, your hour-long meditations. But yeah, sitting still all day or for multiple hours, it's just not how we're built.
It's definitely not. I mean, when I worked in an office, I felt like a caged animal. I was like, I have to get up at least, it was every hour, if not every half hour.
Right.
I would drink a ton of water, so I'd have to get up and go to the bathroom, just to like force myself to get up because, you do get into that tunnel vision, which is challenging.
100%.
Yeah. So I think that's
Yeah.
great. That I loved that. I'm going to have to do that. And I mean, you guys saw how easy it was. I mean, total, like you said, rinse and repeat. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I mean, right now you're doing some stuff online. Are you able to do Rolfing sessions virtually? Oh,
You cut out a little at the end. Am I able to do Rolfing sessions? What?
yeah. Are you able to do Rolfing sessions virtually?
Well, yes. I mean, it's not the same in the way that obviously I'm not putting my hands on people, but I'm able to offer a lot of direction as to how people can work on themselves, which again is in many ways not preferable, but it has a different value because it's really putting the power in their hands
Yeah.
versus mine.
Well, and you
There's
get to know
no
yourself really well. I mean, in a
yeah.
different way. It's not. I mean, wow. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm like getting pummeled by flowers from a tree right now. So it's fun sitting outside. Yeah, I mean, just getting to know yourself in a very different way, getting to know your body,
Yeah,
getting to know your physicality and how you can and can't move. And I think that that's super important in what we can be doing right now. And I mean, it to me, this time period, I don't love what's happening. I love the forced downtime, to be honest with you. I have definitely, been nourishing like the yin essence. And I think that to me, like what you just said, it's like people can get to know themselves in a different way is really kind of going inward, which I think that this period we should be taking advantage of. I don't know what your thoughts on that are about going in.
on the slowing down.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've been really bad at it actually. So I discovered that my stress response is to work constantly. And
You
now
and
I'm
everybody else.
really
I mean,
tired of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm really tired of it.
Well, hopefully you're able to, chill out while you're, at your mother-in-law's house and, just to be able to like, all right, you push the pause button. This is it. I hope this is like the only sort of work thing that you have to do today and you get to chill out.
Not at all.
Oh,
It's like I've definitely uh, dug my own hole. That's a little bit too dramatic to say, but being a self-employed entrepreneur, it's like I definitely am a bossy boss of myself. And so there's a voice that's just like, no, you got to answer that email now. No, you got to schedule this thing now. You got to make an Instagram. Blah, 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 blah. And so I've caught myself, and this is where my practices come in, just like being like, nope, I said I wasn't going to. And it's interesting. It's like an addiction. It's like, I'm like, oh, no, just let me check that. Let me do. And I'm like, no, no, no. Um, Truthfully, like doing this right now brings me so much joy. Teaching online brings me so much joy. It's all the legwork going up to it that I don't like. All the being on the computer, doing the posts, like all that stuff is just really time consuming. And again, like I just go back to the kind of like noble savage idea that as hunter gatherers, like we were not meant to interact with this thing all day long. And just this thing, like this feeds me in such a way that just doing the things on this doesn't.
I agree. I mean, I work for myself as well, and I'm on a screen a lot. Those posts take a while doing the research. And
Hmm.
so the interaction I definitely appreciate, but I definitely feel like I'm on my screen so much more. It's just like, okay,
Me too.
I've had to set boundaries. Like, nope, I can't. And
Yeah.
I am guilty of like picking up my phone first thing, which I know everybody's like, oh my
Mhm.
God, don't.
I know, I do it too.
And it's like, oh my God, but I have to feed the machine and got to do this and got to do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
carving out
Yeah.
time. And I do know, and my routine has changed. I'm not at home. I'm, with my family during this time, which has been great. I mean, I've loved that aspect of it, but I haven't been in my own space. And so I've definitely had to change the way and when I meditate. I meditate at night now. I used to be a morning meditator. I used to have my whole morning routine, and my morning routine is different now, which I don't not like. It's just, okay, it's different. And, the only constant in life is change. So I'm just trying to roll with it and
Yeah.
be with it and,
Yeah.
hang out with it and all that stuff. So are there any, other than, I mean, that, you know, the movement was super easy for people to do. Are there any other tips or tricks that you would offer to people that they can just immediately do that
100%.
were
We're going to
actionable?
do one now. I'm going to make myself seated up comfortably. That's really like the foundation. You've got to feel comfortable. Otherwise, you're just kind of fighting yourself. But
Yeah.
this is a breathing exercise which will immediately regulate your nervous system. Specifically, what we're going to do is we're going to even out the two sides of the breath. So we will start by inhaling and exhaling for a count of 4, and then we'll gradually work up to 8. It's really important to never force or strain the breath. So if you find that you can't go up to 8, that's fine. You can stay at a lower count. It should always feel like you should never feel like you're going to gasp for breath. So when you inhale and you exhale evenly, it actually balances out the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you inhale, your heart rate goes up a little bit, your blood pressure goes up a little bit, and there's just a little bit more of an activation, right? And it's subtle. Whereas when you exhale, it's the opposite of everything I just said. Blood pressure, heart rate goes down, and there's just a little bit of a drop. So by inhaling and exhaling equally, you're balancing that process out with every breath. And by extending the breath up to 8 counts, you're actually starting to shift more toward a parasympathetic nervous system response, which is our rest and digest, our calm and connect. It's that post yoga feeling of like everything in the world is great and I'm the best version of myself. That's parasympathetic nervous system. And it's the opposite of what we feel scrolling through Instagram
Yeah,
or
exactly.
answering emails.
Mhm.
So this is just an easy thing that we can do together right now. So it's just, again, start by finding your comfortable upright seat. Rest your hands down in your lap, and with the eyes closed, just get a sense of the natural rhythm of your breath without changing anything, noticing if you're favoring the inhale or the exhale. How long is the breath? What's the rhythm? And then go ahead and lengthen your next exhale so that it lasts for 4 counts. And then you'll inhale for 4 counts. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that, continue on your own. Option to increase to a count of 5. Option to increase to 6. The key is to slow the breath down. Option 2, increase to 7 if that feels comfortable. And finally, increasing to 8 without forcing or straining. Slow the breath down and complete the exhale. Allow your breath to return to a natural rhythm. Just taking a moment to scan through your body and notice your state physically, mentally, emotionally. Notice any perceivable effects of that breathing exercise. When you're ready, allow your eyes to blink open and look at an unmoving point on the floor in front of you. Inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And you can lift your gaze.
Awesome, yummy. Yeah, that's some balance. That's easy. Everybody can do that at home. It's free. You have your
Yeah.
breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, super calm. Go about your
I know,
day.
it just feels like time slowed down.
It does. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is great. Very,
Yeah.
very chill. That was awesome. Thank you so much. That was awesome. The movement was awesome. Everybody, you guys can do that at home. That's super, super easy. Chelsey, where can they find you? Website, Instagram, preferably either one of them.
Both, all of the above. So my website is rolf-yoga.com. So ROLF-yoga.com. And then my Instagram is rolfing.yoga.by-Chelsey. And maybe we can write it somewhere so that
Yeah,
we can
that'll
just
all
put
be
it.
in the comments as well. I just like to, I think people need to read, and I like to read and hear.
Yeah.
And yeah, I need.
Okay.
So, but thank you so much for your time. This was just such a pleasure. And I love talking about all of this stuff. I can talk about it forever and nobody wants to hear it forever. So, well, maybe they do. I don't know. One of these days. So thank you so much and for taking the time and for sharing your words of wisdom and all of your knowledge and just your wonderful energy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shauna. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And you guys, if you have any questions or comments for Chelsey, leave them in the comments below and we'll see you next time.
Bye.